Stay on your grind.
Oh, I know, you know,
Stay on your grind.
my people. Oh,
Stay on your grind.
everybody.
Stay on your grind.
And can you feel me? Yeah.
Hustlers, don't give a fucksters, and we smoke like broke down mufflers. Paint pictures, write scriptures, at the beach 30 deep riding ninjas. Smoke a howlick, I can't go without it. Me and my crew, we always joke about it in the back of the tow bus. With a gorgeous little hoe just fucking off of us. The game lord is the drugs and fast hoes. Hotels with the beds with brass poles. Sip gallons, can't keep my balance. I'ma have to shine like the boy Richie Valens. Ice medallion, got a thick stallion. 700 pounds coming straight from a Callan. Dogs off the leashes, oh my Jesus. Leave in peace or leave in pieces.
My brother, yeah.
Stay on your grind.
School teachers, yeah.
Stay on your grind.
My people.
Stay on your grind.
And everybody.
I'ma fly like Vince, bubble like Prince. Mama just ain't been the same ever since. She can't believe I got all these fans, and she won't stop saving aluminum cans. I'm swinging and swerving, Woodson and Worthing. Used to break dance against boys up at Sterling, but that was 82. I was acting a fool, the only Mexican in the whole damn school. The game will eat your ass up if you let it. That was back when crack was the epidemic. I'ma represent it, my house ain't rented. Always kept it real while you boys pretended. Lace my pippins, cook my chickens. They shot my boy and missed me by inches. Now my flow harder than my dick is. You can't see me unless you buy some tickets.
And can you feel me? Yeah.
Stay on your grind.
Oh, it's for sure now.
Stay on your grind.
The police, baby.
Stay on your grind.
My sister. Oh,
I'ma stay about my paper. Build my house on a solid acre. Used to be broke, but I ain't tripping on that. It's 2002, I'ma flip in my lack and get gone in the wind. Chrome on the rim. Hope we can all get along in the end, my friend. Player hating's a sin. I got men that'll check your chinny chin chin. All his homeboys need revenge. Smoking bunk weed full of seeds and stems. I'm an interceptor, off the rector. Can't stand clubs with the metal detectors. I'm a movie director, like Hannibal Lecter. I try to mix codeine with Dr. Pepper, but it tastes like medicine. I'm fighting and wrestling. Man, the damn life of the SP
Stay
Mescal.
on your grind.
talking about my brother, yeah.
Stay on your grind.
And if you're feeling me, oh,
Stay on your grind.
yeah. Well,
Stay on your grind.
you gotta
Stay on your grind. Stay on your grind.
No.
Good evening, everyone. I was trying to multitask. Well, welcome to the Treat Show and episode 67. I am super astounded that we have made it here. Thank you. Can you see? I can see now.
There you go.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Thank you. Good looking out. So I went shopping at my favorite dispensary today. Guess what it is? Dark Horse Genetics. Of course it is. So I got some weed and some edibles. And listen, it's a good spot. It's so, this is crazy. It's not Dark Horse's weed today. So that's why I also wanted to talk about it for a second. We're going to naturally review it together. We're not going to really go into this stuff. You guys should watch the show on Dark Horse's podcast, of Jason and I reviewing the product. Because Jason was like, I'm not even feeling this afterwards. And I was so feeling it. Anyways, but there was some good stuff. But I'm going to show you these gummies tonight because I am going to try them on the show. There's some cool stuff. Anyways, I'm super excited to see you guys in the chat. Thank you for being all over with my schedule lately. I would like to get back to having a set time for the show. The goal is next week. We also have some guests coming up. I know I say that, but they had to reschedule. I had to reschedule. And so the next couple of weeks, you guys are going to be stoked. Give me 1 second. All right. Sorry, I had to get the mouse. So what are you guys smoking on? I'll go through the chat here in a second. Okay, so this is level 10. And this is cool because I actually did a consulting job for level 10 a couple years ago. And they were one of my favorite clients to work with. It is a beautiful facility. I believe they have different operators now, but in the recent year, which is exciting for them as well. And yeah, so this strain, let's see. Sorry about that. I forgot my mission here. Loma Prieta. Shit. Okay. You guys tell me how to say this. So, Loma. Loma. Okay. But then it's Preita. Okay, so Loma Prieta? It looks good though. When I was talking to Colin at the shop, he was like, this one is getting me super high. And it's got that real like OG kind of flavor, he said. It's kind of funky. So I'm kind of excited to try this one. There's also, you guys tell me what to smoke first. This one is Party Crasher. Can't go wrong here. Or can you? So this one, he also said, will get you super high. But Colin's like, definitely into those more OG kind of flavors. And I feel he also likes the funky side. So I would not be surprised if these have some of that going on. Let's see. Michelle, it's so good to see you. I have missed you so much. Blue, heck yes. Shadow Mech, Guerrero Grows, Joffrey, Finding Keepers. Oh, gosh, you guys, Wesley, Rory, Good Vibes, Terps, you guys at Foul Bundy. Gosh, it's been too long. Stutter, Guerrero Grows. It is lovely to see you all. Seriously. I was like, I'm going to stop doing my podcast. And then I was like, no, I'm not, because my squad is so incredible. So we're just going to actually get deeper with it. I think we are going to make some changes over the next couple weeks and months. Work is going to, I think, hopefully start balancing out. But yeah, I'm going to talk to the boss and see if we can get back to our set time. Oh, yes, Michelle, I'm sorry. I did see you mention the hurricane. I am so sorry if you were affected by this in any way. And for those that are, the area that's going through this, that's just devastating. I'm terribly sorry. I found out the news too late, and I'm just catching up. So you guys got to fill me in on all the details. But Michelle, I seriously hope you're okay and your family. Mr. Leal, that's what I'm talking about. Username name? This is good. Okay. Been bringing the latest episodes. Thanks for content and bringing in the guests, JLo. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. I promise we will have more guests. That's one thing I'm working on is I think, oh, sorry, I'm trying to do this at the same time. I was slacking on time. But I think that the goal is if I can bring on a couple more people that specialize with like edibles and hash, I really want to bring some guys on to expand about just concentrates as a whole, because I feel like product is getting diluted descriptions. It's weird. We're supposed to be like more and more advanced or more connoisseur, and I feel like they're getting more and more vague or leaving out some of these like finite details of what makes or breaks product, you know? And I think it would be cool to bring on the right people to talk about this. We also have a beautiful lady coming on soon that I think you guys are not only going to appreciate the way she looks, but I think that I think she's been in the industry for a long time. To be honest, I don't know many details, and I'm kind of excited because of that, because then we'll be diving in fresh together. So Turpicana is back on the Adam Dunn show. I met this gentleman, Kyle, and he's going to be joining us, I think, for a special Halloween episode. And then Andrew Hatch, who we have had on in the past, I would like to bring back on and kind of have a little backdrop of specific questions. You guys can definitely help me with this. I want to dive into like the nitty gritty of some more science, pest and disease stuff that would be valuable to everybody, or protocols, or if you're growing with soil, I always talk about doing these approaches to pest and disease eradication with like a sterile approach, but there's many other approaches, and I've used many other approaches, and bacillus, different strains of bacillus are so beneficial for combating some of these things. And so I was thinking maybe we have Andrew come on and talk about that. You guys tell me if that's interesting to you. Same with like Clonex and some of these hormones that I see people scared of or like bash on. I want to break down some of the hormones and what's actually happening with your plants, like flowering versus veg or clones, and what they're really drawing as nutrients. Why these hormonal changes matter. You know, I hear people constantly talk about day 21, and it has a lot of significant value, but the thing is like a lot of people don't know why day 21, why day 42, why, you know? You guys tell me if that would be interesting, but I'm really excited to have him on because I think he's somebody that's really passionate and knowledgeable in the industry. I think what he's doing is great. I think it's going to be fantastic. So you guys get your hash questions ready too. On our female joining us, I really just wish I knew more specifics, but I'm sure you guys could come up with questions even not knowing the specifics either. So those are coming up. Let's see. We need more grape flower, not concentrate. Wesley Pipes, that's what's up. So that's the thing too, is with our brands, Dark Horse, of course, and Treat, the goal is out of this shop that I'm really getting pumped on. I've waited like my whole life for this. You guys think I'm kidding, but I can't wait to release some Treat weed. And I've held on to these genetics for literally 15 years to be able to release them at a store legally. And so thank you, Dark Horse and Jason, for making this happen. But it's going to be happening this fall, or I guess this winter, closer to Thanksgiving. But I think it's going to be awesome. And what I'm trying to bring to the market is not just like flexing. You know, I feel like people just want to be like, we have the best weed. And that's like a great thing to desire to cultivate and produce. I think I'm all for it. But the thing is nobody really talks about like what makes great weed is I think these finishing times are getting overlooked way too frequently because of perpetual harvest commercially. And I don't think it's really talked about enough or disease issues. Things that people don't even know are diseases in their garden, but they know that their plants are getting shittier at week 7 or week 8, so they start harvesting at week 6, or they have a couple plants that start rotting, kind of not rotting, but they'll usually start yellowing and browning, and they'll be like, okay, the tips are going like this, I got to pull this harvest early so that I don't lose it. And those are symptoms of like specifically fusarium, but those are usually symptoms of other things going on, right? So they can't finish their crop, or they'll get bugs, or they'll get powder mildew. All these things I've definitely personally gone through over and over and over again. So I am not critiquing anybody with a bash, but these are real obstacles, you know? And I think that we would like to prove at our store, and I would like to set myself apart with Treat and Dark Horse as far as really taking pride in finishing our strains that we're running. Is we have this very big library, and that's phenomenal. But if you don't finish and run the strains properly, then it doesn't matter. Like, I've smoked plenty of strains like SFV recently that I was extremely disappointed. It looked like the real cut. It looks like all those things, but it had this really bold mold kind of flavoring to it, kind of funky, not good funk taste. What I've seen is when people put their weed in wet and like almost trim it prior, and like wet trim, honestly, and then jar it, is I've seen where that flavor will come out more. I don't know specifically what it is, but I think there's something that got fucked up in the cure process, which it's okay. It's easy to do. But I think that I was super disappointed. and I was thinking about how rare it is that I walk into a dispensary, and this is sad, as it used to not be like this. But where you're really impressed, where you're like, oh my gosh, I need to go get this strain Jack Herrera from here immediately. Or I need to go to Durban for this. Or Sour Diesel. I mean, any of these great classics. It seems like there's a lot of dispensaries, obviously, across the country now. But everybody's kind of following the same trend, I guess. So flower, I personally feel, has lost its true potential or quality. To be like connoisseur flower for reals. I've smoked weed from all over, from great stores, from great shops. And as much as Colorado gets shit, I feel like Colorado still has some of the better weed I've seen. I do see good weed in Minnesota and Michigan. I will say that. But I think most cultivators that are doing other projects in other states came from Colorado or came over here to do it and then pursued it somewhere else. So that's cool. But I think that the weed has gone to shit. And I think a lot of it has to do with pest and disease issues that we used to really not have. Or maybe not so severely. Maybe prior to HLVD or the knowledge of it, I feel like our plants were more resilient. Something else was going on. But anyways, let me check in on the chat before I start my next rant. I know it's getting wild over here. Okay, let's see. I just love that you say that, though. Dino Grow, it's good to see you. But Wesley Pipes, I really do appreciate that you pointed that out. Sorry for my rant, but I do. The thing that I want to emphasize in the future with edibles and distillate pens and I guess vape pens as a whole, or flower even within the market that's past testing, is I really have this idea to start a project. I won't release it yet, actually, but I would like people to understand that you can still sell weed that has flaws and it will still pass its testing and still be a safe product. But sometimes they're using some of the worst product, not sometimes, like 80% of the time, the worst product to put in these other products. So I feel questionable most times that I have a friend or a family member that's ill or has a compromised immune system in any way to recommend some of these products, not because I personally want to hate on anybody or anything like that, but from working behind the scenes that, well, maybe this distillate process kills powder mildew, but do you really want powder mildew processed weed in something that you don't know about? Probably not. I wouldn't. But People don't know that. And I feel like if they knew how frequently and often that happens, they would feel differently about some of the products they're consuming, or they wouldn't. I don't know. I've smoked weed that was sprayed with God knows every pesticide under the sun in 2008 on, or if you started smoking weed before that, you definitely smoked it too, is, I don't know, Eagle 20, we've all definitely smoked on. and I think like we're still kicking, but at the end of the day, I think Jason and I and the team morally and ethically want you to be able to consume a product that we consume ourselves and that we trust that we could give to your gam, you know, then she would be feeling great. There's no risk. Yeah. We want cannabis to be the most beautiful, positive message and positive business message that we can possibly give to everybody. I know that we have our flaws. We're working out the kinks, okay? But you just keep hanging in there. We'll take care of you. Just like you take care of us. Wesley Pipes, Motor Breath 15. So good. So good. I think that I might have lost our cut of that in the recent months with all the moves and transitions and all that stuff. I hope I didn't. But Wesley, it is sexy. And I'm jealous you got that Motor Breath. You have to let me know when you harvest. We'll post some pictures on here. Death Star is fire. The Ohio cut for the win. Yeah, you know all these good cuts. Death Star, the last time I grew it, makes me sad, is probably 2014. But I grew it from 2010 to 2014. And I remember these things so distinctively because of how bold the strains were at the time, how much they stood out. And I feel as though that's one that I wish I could get my hands on again too. It's hard to find the real cuts of Death Star or Sour Diesel I found in Colorado. It's not that they're not there. It's just a lot of people have these cuts and they're either like pheno hunts or, I don't know, bullshit somewhere. There's something special about the OG cuts. God, it's like the loves of my life. These OG cuts, the thing is I remember smoking OG for the first time in my life. And I remember Sour Diesel was probably the first strain I ever smoked. And OG Kush was shortly after. And I remember just falling in love with OG Kush. That was all I smoked for at least the first 10 years of my career. That's why I worked at Pink House and all those companies, Dank by Pink, all these things, because they were like the houses of Kush or things like that, because I was just obsessed with it. My first breeding project took me 10 years to like really finish and stable, like do through and through. But it was because I fell in love with the strain Boo Kush we've talked about. But you guys will see. That's like kosher and Boo are... They hold something deep and dear in my heart. Same with Larry OG. I would do anything for that cut. If you guys know anybody that has the real Larry, not a pheno hunt of Larry. I just want Larry back so freaking bad. I was going to hit up Swerve and just beg. But you guys tell me some of your favorite OGs, because I don't know what I would do or what we would do without OG, obviously. Guerrero grows, because you have to deal with the market as home growers. We don't have to do that. We can grow whatever we want. I think that's so cool, Guerrero grows, is that you point that out. Because the weird part is, I think commercially, people have tainted this image that you have to do things this way. Excuse me. That you have to do a perpetual harvest to be successful. Or you have to, I don't know, just the way I've seen them modify it. Over time is there's particular areas that I think have been extremely progressive, and I think there's other areas that we've held each other back by copying the same bad techniques, or maybe not bad, but we've come too far, and kind of like regressive in some weird way. Is I think when I look at, I've ran and fixed more than 200 facilities and commercial facilities that ranged in scale so dramatically, from really small to really large. But the thing is I started in 2008, 2009 in Colorado, and Obviously not as a consultant, as a trimmer, and a little water hand basically. But I think going through all those positions and working all of those positions and actually growing with the industry, that's something that I hear a lot of people like lie about, and I hate to use that word, but they're just dishonest about it. Is they'll just act like they've been in the industry, or they'll act like they knew what the commercial scene was like compared to the black market. I've definitely always been on both. And I feel like I appreciate that. But when I talk about professional and commercial growing, I am talking about 2008, because yes, I grew weed before that, but never compliantly and never commercially and all these other things at that scale. But I think starting with some of our smallest facilities now, is they were the biggest then, where they were 1,500 square foot or 3,000 square foot or 500 square foot. That was considered like massive in these commercial grows back then. These commercial grows, they were really just like little mini warehouses, but they would put tents in them, all kinds of different things. You know, it's like funny, but most people built like a really, really big flower room or multiple big flower rooms, and then they built these really small veg rooms. Those were some of the like mistakes, I guess, where they didn't like account for that veg time or filling all these rooms, how many plants you really needed, or they changed mediums or changed pot sizes and their whole system was fucked. They had to change everything, or really bad like initial design footprints of thinking that was the best way and then realizing this is not the best way. And all these things have costed so much money. But I think it was cool to experience places that are kind of scraping by and they're working with really tough facilities. Some of the facilities I've worked at that produce some of the greatest, like, or have great reputations. I'll use Harmony Extracts, for instance, because they no longer have this facility. And they built a beautiful state-of-the-art facility, and they're doing great. But they started in a facility that was so bad. It was so rough. And there was 2 other licenses that had been there prior to them that had sold it because of this spider mite problem, sorry. They were all convinced that these spider mites couldn't be killed and that it was just like part of the building. And there was definitely like quirks that made this difficult. There was one thermostat for the entire building, which was about 20,000 square foot. So imagine one thermostat in an office that controls your flower rooms and veg rooms. And there's different walls and different mediums between these walls. What I mean is there could be a brick wall separating a room that has one wall exposed to the outside, so it's very cold in the winter. And then another part, the opposite side of that wall could be to a flower room that's extremely hot. So that room is going to be vegging on a different light cycle, we know. But then the other room is, they're clashing with each other, right? And some of these things seem so mild, but I don't think people realize that some of the obstacles that happen on a commercial scale are just expensive in comparison to like a home grow or a smaller space, obviously. But these adjustments, I see all these guys do it. I see them all buy like the Quest units. They're so badass. Don't get me wrong. Quest, like the Troll Master setup, they do every Netafim. It's like, or they do Floraflex. Like they're investing money into all these things. The dab side pumps, they have all the shit. The Botanicare rolling benches, they have it all, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But then I see where they have a landlord that won't replace the roof to their commercial building, and they're paying $50,000 a month in fucking rent, and that's not including their overhead and all these other things. And they're like, okay, my roof is leaking. I have powder mildew on my crop now. I'm growing my weed the best that I possibly can, but this is a problem, and it can't get fixed. So then I see these guys where it sounds like, okay, I would just pay for it out of pocket. But then it's like, if they get a bid on that or an estimate, then they're like, the whole building's roofs need to be replaced, and you have 6 other tenants in here, and this is going to cost, I don't know, $500,000. So I hope you have a good day. These are some of the things that I'm like, damn, all for powder mildew, right? And obviously other reasons, but I think that they convinced themselves a long time ago. I seen this transition, and it's because of testing. Most importantly, it's because of testing. Beyond even the perpetual harvest, is the way that our tracking system is set up is very frustrating because they have made it so difficult they're getting better, but you have to figure 10 years ago, 14 years ago, this was just getting started. And the tracking system that we're required to use originated with tracking pharmaceutical pills, like pills. So, no, it's not great for weed. They have worked out some of the kinks, but what correlations can really be there all the way across the board? I guess more than you'd think, but I don't know. So what they started doing is requiring that we have harvest batches. And one day I want to talk about metric and talk about some of our compliance rules, because I constantly hear from people that do not work in this industry how unregulated it is. How you guys are just not regulated. There's no standards. There's no tests. There's no compliance. And I'm just like, where the fuck are you living? Because I feel like there is so much compliance and there is so much regulation, like to the point that we're one of the most regulated businesses. And you wouldn't think so. There's plenty of other things I could think you could regulate more. But I think it's interesting, like both sides. I guess this is probably a rant that not everybody's interested in, but I think it would be cool to talk about some of these things so that people understood why. If you don't submit these batches, these harvests, so this group of strains, you have to take down all at the same time. And it has to be X amount of plants to make it worth it for you to make a harvest batch to get tested in the state. So it costs $400 for a batch. I'll be honest about that. $400 per batch though. So every strain that's in that room is a batch. So if you have 4 plants to 40 plants or whatever you're working with, you could even have 400 plants or whatever of this batch. But most people want variety on a shelf, right? Most people at a dispensary want 20 different strains at least to choose from. So 20 times 4. And I think that when we're sitting here on just the expenses of testing was there to I think implement safety. It makes sense to me, produce a safe product. But the thing is the more strict the testing gets, it's just a higher expense for, I think, the shop itself. And the more I see people alter it, the more I see now that everybody rads their weed is they're basically baking their weed to pass their testing. That used to be illegal or against compliance, and now you can do that. Now it's a business. And so I feel like instead of having aspergillus-free weed or powder mildew-free weed or pesticide-free weed, everybody's ratting their weed. So there's certain things you can't remove. I gotta back up. You gotta clarify that. So pesticides would not come out from a rad machine, but microbials would. And I think some of these things with water and heavy metals, I guess heavy metals probably wouldn't be that altered. Yeah, it's probably microbials mostly. Aspergillus, I would say, is why everybody was struggling. So when I look at that, though, is I'm you're testing for these pesticides. So it's not that somebody can't use a pesticide. It's that you tested for these ones, and they're not on the plant. So good job. But you can spray a pesticide that's approved for use in the industry and with proper application up until harvest on a lot of these products. So it's not that your weed doesn't have pesticides on it. It's that they used a compliant pesticide. So I think there's things like that people skip over. Is they'll call themselves all organic companies or all organic product, but they're using neem at week 7, week 8. I don't know. So you guys tell me. You guys tell me what we were thinking. I'll switch it up. We'll go to a more happy conversation. Boom, I'm so excited to see you. How are you, sunshine? Is Arizona Grows and Kim Painter, you guys should be friends in that AZ. Yeah, you guys should be chilling on the patio, watching the geckos, having yourself a little beer or a margarita. I'm just saying, it's that Arizona vibe. I love it. I do wish I could grow some weed there. I do wish I could do it. There's certain places, Hawaii, Roatan, and Arizona. I would love to grow some weed. I feel like I won't do it. But you guys let me know if you guys ever want some clones, some plants, some seeds. Username. Sorry. Headbanger OG, Karma Genetics crossed to Sour 91 2.0 Top Dog. Sour 91 2.0 equals Chem 91 crossed with East Coast Sour Diesel. Holy guacamole. Username name. That sounds so good. This sounds delicious. I love what Karma does. I feel like, and Top Dog, I think that it's cool because they've created these great niches for themselves where, yeah, you guys know. But I like that I like what you've got going on. Sour Wook. That is so awesome. I needed a break from the politics. Love me some treat show. Arizona grows, that means a lot to me. I know it's probably already getting intense out there. Jason's mentioned a couple of things to me, and I think it's funny. All I'm ready for, and all I want, is for FRP board to get cheap again so that we can all redo our grows. And I can show you how sexy FRP board is. And all the different options these are the little things that when we're going through our grow, is a 4x8 sheet of, this was like the expensive FRP board. So not the smooth finish, actually. It's got a little crinkle, almost little cracks on it. But you know, you can't, this is like the most, I like to put this behind my reservoirs. I love to put this in all kinds of spaces that there's water. If I could afford to, I would make every grow room have this, at least half walls of it, you know, to save a little bit. If I could afford to do the whole wall and ceiling, I definitely would. I have done it in an attic. I don't know if you guys ever watched the Treat Show episode of that, but it is true and it is nice. But it keeps everything so clean. It's a pain in the ass, I feel like, to hang for the first time. Maybe not, though. If you have a buddy system, it's not too bad. You guys tell me how you feel. But FRP board went from $8 a sheet for, like, the good to $89 a sheet for, like, the cheapest shit. Okay, for one 4x8 sheet. Talk about take my consulting jobs and throw them out the window with the cost of materials. You know what I'm talking about? Gotta send somebody an invoice. Just kidding. Wesley Pipes, fuck PM, shit in, shit out. That is what I'm talking about. I've had to do it. I know that you guys are gonna cringe hearing me say this, but I'm a real mother trucker. I've had to throw away crops because of powder mildew and because it happened too late into my harvest, or like into my cycle where I could not harvest. Like, you're fucked either way. You're like, if I make the, like, I'm not gonna spray my room, I'm not gonna burn in here, I'm not gonna do shit, so it's gonna keep spreading. I could try to cut around it, I could try to do all these things, but it's like, do I want to smoke it? That's what I always have to ask myself, for real. It's like, I don't want to smoke this. So I can go to somebody and be like, with that situation, be like, dude, I got this shit product. Don't tell your friends. And will you process this? Or will you do something with it so I don't throw it away? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, great. And for some reason, I can justify that when I probably shouldn't. But you don't even, like, charge them. You're just like, I don't want to, like, there's something, too, where you feel guilty, like, out of respect for the plant. There's, like, this conflicting shit that you're just like, okay, I can't give this to a person. Life does happen. I was even noticing outside this freaking week in Colorado, I looked at the temperature last night, sorry. It was like 49 degrees. And I was like, damn it, it's happening. I was like, the transition from summer to fall is officially happening. So, but our days the last couple of weeks have been like 90 degrees. So there's a pretty big swing from daytime temperatures to nighttime. And usually these plants were getting watered all the time because it's super hot out during the day. So you have to wait till the sun goes down, you know, or early in the morning. Anyway, so the powder mildew just started popping up. Just started popping up all over our outside plants. And I was like, son of a gun. Like, I have all these daisies that were blooming and doing wonderful. Now they have powder mildew. And I'm just like, damn it. Obviously, I can spray my daisies with some sulfur real quick. And I love it. That silver bullet, super good. Ooh, sorry. I'm just having problems. I had to roll a different blood. I don't like this. But you guys tell me, what do you do with powder mildew? I'll tell you that if you're not a fan of sulfur, there's this other product that I'll bring on the show. I'm going to just space on the name real quick, right when this is relevant. Well, I can't remember right now. I rarely use it, but I will bring it on because if you are late into flower, what I mean by this is like week 5 or 6, you can use this up until harvest, and it's really, I don't want to misquote anything. I'm just gonna bring this product on the next show that I'm by myself and show you guys, because it's great. It's great for spraying if you absolutely have to. There's no risk of residuals. There's nothing like that. It's just, I think the more bud site development that you have and the later that you try to do these applications, it all does go back to your harvest. So if you're harvesting at week 9, that's not going to work, right? You can't be treating stuff at week 7 and expect nothing. I guess that's not true. Certain products, the chances of having residuals could be there, okay? They just could be. And I think, though, that what gets overlooked is if you have a plant that you're harvesting at week 15, though, or week 16, is when we're looking at these pesticide treatments like half-lives, or you're looking at powder mildew and things like that you're trying to prevent for such a long time. Spraying at week 6 isn't awful. You still have 10 weeks to go. You're not going to have these residuals. The plant's going to metabolize all these things. It's just different. That could also sound terrible, but I guess it depends on a lot of other factors as well. But you guys tell me if powder mildew is even something that you guys battle, because I can tell you in Colorado, everybody cut fresh air intakes into their commercial grows. This is one thing that we all did that we had to take back, is they all had this beautiful fresh air intake going on in an exhaust system, right? And it was awesome. The plants love it. But then when we get to this time of year, August, it starts to flare the powder mildew. Like the first couple nights it starts dropping like that, the flower rooms will all get powder mildew going. And it's not like bad or something. This isn't like walking into marshmallow land, but you can see that soft fuzz like here and there on the leaves, and you're just like, well, if I let this go, this will be marshmallow land in a couple days. But it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating. I've seen people try everything under the sun to like wash that shit off, or just skip. Sometimes just skip. Just act like it's not there. Oh, Aaron Woodley, it's so good to see you. Yeah, but I don't like to see people processing it. Sorry, I don't know what it is. I should probably get over it. If I talk to a lot of these extractors, they do tell me like there's not a lot to worry about. I really do believe when what you put in is what you get out, and it would just make me feel better if it was weed that was good enough to sell on a shelf, right? Like most of these guys are doing the opposite. They're like sending their shit because they can't sell it, and I'm like, I'm all about using the full plant. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, there's price points, there's products, there's byproducts, there's try products. Like, let's do this. But you have to have a good whole plant to work with, Aaron Woodley, you're in trim jail? Shucks. I wish we could all have the buddy. We do have the buddy system right now, but I wish we could help you trim. Everybody in the chat, I wish we could be getting our trim on together. Trimming so hard now. It's like, gosh, you should get like a golden. Anyways, and it's hard to find a freaking good trimmer both ways. If you don't do it yourself, you're SOL almost. Nathan King, growing a few chem hybrids in way upstate New York. Anything I can use to get their resistance to PM up. Been spraying warm milk and water at 50-50 ratio for the past week, and it definitely helps. But Nathan King, thank you so freaking much. Yes, so first of all, I really appreciate your first approach with that, because I think that's awesome. I think something that is really beneficial is the Silver Bullet. I think is the most user-friendly product to start for sulfur, with like no fear of burning. It's weird because I talked to somebody that I'm not sure how much experience they honestly have. It didn't seem like much, but they said that they got burning from Silver Bullet, and I was like, oh, well, did you leave your lights on? Because to me, you really have to be... You have to leave your lights on, or you have to be mixing this very hot, I guess. There has to be an air somewhere with the application, I think. But this is really simple. So if you get the Silver Bullet, read the instructions, follow the directions, follow the label, follow everything. But it's 2 grams per gallon of the Silver Bullet. And I found that I won't increase it. If you even talk to the owner of that product, he'll tell you to increase the grams per gallon. over time to control the product. This is one product that I will say I don't do that with to avoid burning, and because I'll just do closer together applications if I'm really concerned about something. I don't really like to increase the EC or the hotness or the strength of a lot of products I use. I like to either use them more frequently or, yeah, different approach, I guess. Safe for your plants, safe for you. But so I think if you go through, are you in flower or veg right now? Because you can still use it at 2 grams per gallon in either, but everybody talks about that sulfur taste and thing that they fear in flower, and especially if you are extracting. The thing is, I think there's a lot of truth and there's a lot of not truth behind that. Is if you're spraying your plants incorrectly, or if you're applying sulfur too frequently, you can have those residuals once again. But if you're planting this properly, you should have at least 6 weeks to 8 weeks that you're not applying sulfur whatsoever for the finishing of this crop or your flowering time. But if you do have powder mildew, I will spray in flower, and you guys can slam your haterade, but this is just being real. You want them to be set up for success, right? So that you don't ever have to spray late or have a product that could hurt somebody with just having powder mildew, Anyway, so I think weeks 1 through 3, you can get away with spraying sulfur spread out enough. So I would recommend using it if you really have a bad problem. I would recommend using it every 4 to 6 days at the 2 grams per gallon. And I use a paint sprayer. No matter how small your space is, I'm telling you, this is the shit. Because you can smog the room. It just covers everything. It covers the plants so nice. It's easy to control. I think it's worth the investment. But I'm all for the paint sprayer. So I'll take the sulfur and I'll pour it in my bucket without water at first when I'm mixing it. And I add a little bit of hot water and make sure it's dissolved before I add the cool water, because you obviously don't want to apply too hot of water to your plants. But if you take that, and even if you get it warm enough to dissolve and then you let it sit to just cool down to room temperature, that's okay too. But you could start with a gallon goes pretty far. So I think if you start with a gallon, that might be like even too much, is I think it's great to just do a foliar application. And if you really hit the bottoms and the tops of the leaves to the point that they're not necessarily like dripping, like douse dripping, but you do have a drip, and maybe it's every couple minutes you have another drip from the leaves. Sounds ridiculous, guys, but it's that thorough coverage that's not overbearing to the plant. You won't get powder mildew. So I think if you have clones that you take out, you transplant, say, I would wait 4 or 5 days after my first transplant, and I would spray sulfur if this is something I was combating. Even if the clones had powder mildew, I would still wait for that. I know a lot of people are going to disagree, but I would take them out, do the transplant, spray them 4 days after, maybe 3 if you're really concerned, and turn my lights off for the full 10 hours, 12 hours. Even if you're in veg, even if whatever it is I would leave them off for at least 10 hours and make sure that they're dry when you turn the lights back on. But then you'll have no problems, and you'll see how much your plants love sulfur as a nutrient itself. I feel like they just absolutely love it. So it's not only benefiting like your powder mildew concern, but this is just awesome. And then, like I said, I'll bring on that other product next time. I can't believe I spaced this, honestly, but I'll bring it on next time so that this one's for like later, because it just has a different approach that keeps you safe, but you can still manage to keep your crop instead of having to throw it away. It's just a little trick. If you're not into it, don't be into it. It stinks out the vac seal bag. Oh my gosh, Wesley Pipes, you are so right. Yeah. Sulfur is definitely a hard one to hide. But if you burn sulfur too, I should have mentioned that, I'm a huge advocate for burning sulfur, but I think that is harder for people to accomplish safely. And they come like confined space or something like that. But I think it's awesome. If you just go on like Grow Generation's website, you'll see the sulfur burners if you're interested. And it has directions on there. and you actually use a different type of sulfur, but it's these little pellets. They're really cheap. Both approaches are pretty cheap. And russet mites will get fucked up from sulfur. So I think, like, as my general IPM, I have sulfur in my IPM. The thing that I've been trying to do for the show, guys, is I was trying to mark out the days, because sulfur you can't use with a lot of products for, let's just say, 14 to 21 days, which is pretty long, but at the same time, that keeps your use of sulfur minimal. You're fitting all these products into a short time frame, kind of, but then it becomes an all-around protective IPM that's targeting everything, making sure that your plants are going in clean so that you don't have to use any treatments and that you can do your organic thing and you can do your thing, whatever that is. But I really want to break it down one day, because I think they're misleading people on back-to-back applications of pesticides and treatments being the only effective way. Most times you're damaging your plant more by doing that, and then they'll decline more rapidly because of phytotoxicity or some of these other things, or they'll flare whatever disease they were like combating, or HLVD if you didn't have it. Like some of these things. Breeder cuts only, that's what's up, Wesley. Sometimes people will be like, I don't know, they'll be like, Jay, I don't care about this. And I'm like, well, I can't give you these clones then. Because I'm all about the breeder's cuts and the clone onlys. For real. Does Texas have some new medical? I should really check into that. I used to be so involved with all of these things and really, really care. And now, I don't know what it is, but I'm really going back to those grassroots of being like, what are we all chasing at the end of the day in cannabis? What are we trying to achieve? Because I see mixed messages for some reason with social media. This is just my personal opinion, but social media and all these different, like, I hate that word, is all these different people and celebrities, I guess, cannabis celebrities, and I guess it's across the world's board of stuff, is this makes you cool if you have followers and all this other shit. But marketing that's like putting more money into sorry guys, putting more money into marketing than you do your actual product or business. Putting this like facade. I'm so tired of this bullshit facade of like the world, and thinking that's what value is. Thinking if you sell the most bullshit, then you're successful, or you I could go on a rant about this, so I won't. But I think there's this like trust that comes within a group of you guys and passionate growers and cultivators of every form and every kind and every space. And I see this thing getting lost because of people trying to be really popular, or claiming that they bred genetics that they fucking didn't, or claiming that they were in an industry that they weren't, or lying about square footages, or hiding their shitty crop. Like, this isn't actually me trying to bash, there's been situations where I've had to call my clients to be like, gosh, if I say that word one more time, I apologize, guys. I'm going to pinch myself. But I've had to apologize to my clients and say that, hey, I got root aphids and I didn't see this coming. Somebody brought this cut in, or some whatever happened, is I have russet mites or something like that. When it is so difficult to make that call. I could lie to that person. I could give them this shit. They probably wouldn't notice some of the things that I'm remembering these obstacles happening with, compared to like genetics you see, or clones that I see other people buy or give out. I don't know. But there's something that doesn't feel good when I rush something like that, or because of the way that I actually take clones and treat clones, it takes so much longer than most people's propagation process. And it sounds ridiculous. It sounds like it's probably a bad one, but it's the opposite. Is I feel so good about this, and it makes such resilient big plants and such an increase in yield and health resilience. And all these different things that it's worth it for me, right? But it's not easy. As many people make it come off so easy, you don't see a lot of people pushing clones or selling clones. Maybe you guys do, but as a whole package, as like a breeder that sells clones that they cut, or a dispensary that it's their clones. Like most people have to, I don't know. It has to be kind of discreet or something. Because there's so many obstacles that can come with it. And I've had to have those uncomfortable conversations where, of course, I'm bummed out or disappointed in whatever took place. But I would rather them wait and hate me or have to give a refund or have to do something than give them something that would contaminate their whole facility or take out potentially the genetics that mean so much to them, or give them a product, honestly, that you're just not proud of, that you're like, I want you to be excited when you receive this. I want you to feel fulfilled in every way that your dollar or that your time was valued, and that this plant feels that same way. Sometimes I feel so connected to weed more than people, and maybe just plants and stuff in general, but I think you guys could relate to that too. Is there's this beauty. It's almost like that word, like the secret garden, when people, that book, all these things, it's always stood out to me because there's something about this secret love or this secret ambiance of finding contentness within a garden, no matter what size or what genetics. When you receive a cut you've been waiting for years, or you lost and got back, or the breeder sent you, or the list goes on and on, I think there's nothing like it. There is just nothing like it. And I've seen where social media, in my perspective, and the direction that people are trying to influence business value in, is so wrong to me. Is so incorrect. Just in my perspective, where I may not ever be like the coolest or the most financially abundant or whatever. I think I want people to smoke my weed and feel loved themselves, feel gratitude in their lives, or feel anything that there's missing, or a lack of calmness, or just anything. I feel like my ultimate goal is that they smoke this, and that there's a gift from the plant and a gift from me, and everybody that touches it along my way, is that it's truly loved. And the times that I get detached from that in my career because of pressure, just like everybody, I've got bosses too. I've got standards, you've got quotas, you've got all this shit, and time frames and fucked up grows to get them perfect and get them done fast. is things like that. Is sometimes it comes off easier than it actually is or more fun than it actually is I think there's a lot that goes into it, but it's really satisfying, when you actually have that harvest. And I see all these Instagram guys, and I remember when you could buy your followers. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, but I remember my brother, he fucking did this, and he's like so young, and we gave him so much shit. He like came back one day, he's like, I have 100,000 followers, and we were all like cracking up. This is like 15 years ago too, probably. So we're all like cracking up, and this is when I worked at Weed, and I couldn't post weed, and and we were just like, Skylar, what the fuck are you doing? Like, so douchey. So like, who the fuck gives a fuck? It's funny because then he went back and like deleted it, made a new account, and now he's like got 500 followers, all these years later. It's just funny because that value to me and what that represents as a person, to me, is now more valuable. When I see people with less followers, I value them and respect them more. The less audience that they have to be able to thrive in this world, to be able to really try your best every day, to be the best version of yourself, to be the best family guy, woman, to be the best single person that is independent and feels good about themselves, like to raise kids solo, to all the obstacles of life, illness, battles, just all kinds of shit I see people go through, and maybe they don't physically look like freaking, I don't know, whatever model, it's crazy to me that I see those things get chased and rewarded, and then I see so many of these other things sit in the dark or more quiet. And it seems like lately I'm just so grateful for the more quiet. And I want this podcast to be like that actually. Is I want a lot of people that have never got to share their story or feel like it was misheard or something like that to be able to come on the show with you guys, our safe crew, be able to talk about these things, because I think it's the values overlooked of where the value really is. It's so cool to have like a close community of something that we should be able to trust each other and share genetics and not share genetics so that we create value for each other, respect. Or breeders should take a pause and a halt. If you really love plants and you really love breeding, you should stop this year. You should stop last year. Like, and I know people are gonna hate me for saying this, but it's gotten so diluted and so misled, as far as you can have sick plants, but then as long as you make them seeds, then they're not sick anymore, and you won't have HLVD or you won't have fusarium, or all this is like baloney. And so I think, aside from diluting genetics and tainting some things, is I think we should just all pause so that we learn the value of genetics again. I think. And maybe people don't care this much that don't care about weed, but I know anybody that listens to these podcasts, The Adam Dunn Show, Dark Horse Genetics, the Dude Grows, obviously the Future Cannabis Project. I feel like everybody has these incredible platforms, and I just think, I think that sometimes there's a bigger audience for people that already have big audiences. And I'm like, man, I guess we're just gonna keep it tight over here all the way around. Ghost OG, holy fuck, Dino Grows. One of my favorite strains of all time as well. I do have Ghost OG. I did want this cut back so freaking bad, but the truth is she has HLVD. I'll bring it on to show you what it exactly looks like when it's just got that going on, which people are like running from, but honestly, it's amazing when that's the only issue. Excuse me, there's so much ice in the top of my glass. Oh, excuse me. But I'll show you it so that you can see what it looks like. HLVD looks like without something like fusarium and it just bugs or anything like that. It's very rare that it's just solo. So, but Ghost is growing out of it, and I guarantee after 2 clonings, like 2 rounds, I bet she'll test clean. I can show you how I do it, and we can do it together on this one. It's better than the Jack that I didn't follow up on. I'm sorry about that. Michelle. I just wish that we could be smoking right now, but we are. But on like a patio and all chilling. Vinaviv? Vinaviv? I can't. Okay. Vinaviv. I could be saying this completely wrong. I'm sorry. You need to use the milk byproduct when it's spoiled milk that works on mildew. A guy I know uses it on his weed and blueberry plants. Says it works great. We have bud rot here I'm dealing with. Well, I think that is a great approach. I think the thing is, if I was battling root rot, I would use H2O2 or I would use Bacillus. I can pull up more specific strains of Bacillus. We really would have to go into this if we go into this. But those would be if I was personally combating bud rot. But the milk does really work, though. I think that's great that you guys are talking about this. When I look at it, it's like that probiotic approach, you know? I feel like if that's the path you want to take, you should take that path because it's not bad at all. I think the only thing that gets tricky is how close you can spray these things together and it be effective in a positive direction, like where you need that mix rate to be proper and how this is settling and drying in your room at the same time. Because if you're adding moisture to plants that already have bud rot or root rot going on, typically the plant's not metabolizing correctly or like drinking and eating or flushing what it's trying to. And so usually you'll have things like fungus gnats or root aphids those I would say are the most common. I guess russet mites can really fuck this up too, as far as you wouldn't think they would cause as severe damage as they will. Later, when you might see these things popping up. So the H2O2, it won't kill root aphids or something like that, or fungus gnats, but they don't like it. It definitely pushes them away. It keeps them at bay. So I'm not sure if you're just seeing just these single issues. Most times, to be honest, you have multiple issues. Not you. I'm just saying usually when you have powdered mildew or root rot or bud rot, there's something else flaring something. There's something else going on. We had a situation a long time ago where we had a leak that we didn't know about, and slowly but surely it started causing problems in like my quarantine room and with powdered mildew, and I was like, where is this coming from? And I was just so confused, honestly, because this is a quarantine space, and even though they're not the happiest plants going in here, it gets treated pretty frequently. Anyways, I found this leak, and it had been leaking when my lights were off, and that water sitting on the ground, like I said, when it gets below 60 degrees in a room and you have moisture sitting like that, or the plants themselves aren't metabolizing, or they're slow metabolizing, or they're not drying out the way they should be, or flushing, like I said, the way they should be, that's when this gets weird. That's when, mold in, mold out. Oh, what are you smoking on lately? Oh, thank you, username. This one I think was the Loma Preta. Lately, I have been smoking the Purple Starburst. I've been smoking the shit out of it. Jason's probably TO'd. It was his personal stash. But it's delicious. It's sad to say this, guys. We won't have Purple Starburst in a run for quite some time. But I did manage to fill a pretty large section of Skittles. And we decided, Jason and I have confirmed that we are going to do a full section of Skittles. So we're starting with 25 plants, which is kind of a lot for the Z. I'm just saying. But for us, she's a slow rooter compared to her friends. But I think this is going to be awesome. We're going to perpetually have her. But the whole reason I went on that is because I want to smoke the Z, but we don't have it. And 710 is the only one that does. And we bought it. But I think you guys are going to like ours a little. I think it's delicious. I wish my food supply regulations were tougher on regular testing and less chemicals. Michelle, yes. I think it's sad that weed is tested further and more in-depthly than food. It's concerning. It's very concerning. They always say, like, we need the cure for cancer, and I'm like, no, we just need to stop fucking growing fucked up food. And all these other, to, like, stop doing all those things wrong. Why don't we just, like, produce a healthy, happy crop? I don't know. Here we go. Nathan King. This is helpful. Yeah, I let the milk sit out in the sun a few hours before I spray. Can't just go to Walmart and get milk. I'll Google it and see if I can make it at home, though. That's so cool. I'm trying to remember whose book I did that in first. I remember I was really young the first time I ever did the milk. And I know it was the 50-50 that you talked earlier in the chat with, but I was trying to remember specifically if Ed Rosenthal or if it was Teaming with Microbes. Gosh, I just remember the first time being like, oh my goodness. I think my mom even. I think she was really into it for tomatoes. Her tomatoes would sometimes get powdered mildew. Wonder if I could run some cottage cheese through a blender and strain it. Oh, yeah. I feel like, Nathan King, you're getting crafty, but I really do think that you could do that. It's not a bad idea. Arizona grows. The rad machines freak me out. I don't want to smoke any of that stuff. That is how I feel Arizona grows. Like, it's putting people in a position where to pass their testing, everybody's ratting their weed. But who is regulating the people ratting the weed? Like, how much research has gone behind that? Because they say it's harmless, for reals. But how many times do people tell you that something is harmless? That you're like, is it though? Is it, as I cut my finger off? Is it though? Oh my goodness, Tark. Where the heck have you been? Just kidding. I miss you so much. I hope you and the family are doing incredible. I was just thinking about you the other day with this remodel little project we have. I was like, you know what? Tark got through this with his wife and they did a beautiful job. So direct focus, positive attitude. Tark, you have been encouraging me, so thank you from afar. I hope that your whole world is awesome right now. Fake organic is everywhere. You are so right. Wesley, pisses me off. Pisses me off. I want to start a company for weed that does that. That if I say it one more time, sorry. That certifies you not as organic, because I don't grow organically, technically. I will honestly disclose everything I grow with, though, and I will say it is as organic as I can possibly get and derive from the cleanest products I can possibly choose and completely remove from the plant before you ever consume it. But I will disclose all of it. Versus, I think if we could go in and be very helpful to the client, the customer, the home grower, the commercial grower, the owner, whoever we're working with, and actually help them resolve the issues with their product instead of saying, here's a punishment from the state, and no, we don't have many resources beyond this point for you, unless you go, I just see some flaws. I see some flaws where if we had a company that just certified everybody else as super clean, if they actually were, or super not, if they didn't have the stamp, it'd be so awesome. Who's the siren? What would I do without you? Just think about how awesome you are today. This snog has me baked. That sounds freaking good. Snog. Snog, that's such a good name. Hey, Michelle, how are you doing? Gosh, sorry, I was eavesdropping. Noelle, it's so good to see you in here. Thank you. How's the store coming along? You know, the store is doing freaking good. The store is doing better than I thought, but I also think the store needs more traffic. So we were trying to brainstorm different ways that we could get a higher volume of people per day. You guys, put in the comments anything you think. Because we're trying, obviously. We're waiting for our harvest. It's hard. It's hard to wait for the harvest right now to have our weed. And still, it's so close yet, so far away. But the store is going really well. I think it's finally coming together, these changes that we've made. There is the last project that we have in there is one of our main bars. And we're trying to find the proper cabinet maker, the cabinet builder, carpenter. Jesus. Sorry, guys. And I think we might be on to something. But it's been growing. It's astounding to me because we have some construction kinks and some obstacles, but we also have a very busy road for where a spot you really wouldn't think that would be the case. So you just come on in, check it out, and see our little updates. See what you think, because we've got some ideas, and I would like to see them come to fruition over the next couple weeks. I think it's going to be wonderful. And thank you, Noelle, for actually asking about the store, because it's something that oh my goodness, I see one in here. Yeah, I have some houseplants. I just saw a fungus gnat, guys. Sorry. Sorry, Noelle. I feel it's cool to see your dreams coming to life. Jason's dreams coming to life. Seeing him do all of this, grow so rapidly as himself and their like Dark Horse as a whole, from what it began as and how much they've gone through prior to me, and then when we come together and have been together for years now, really chasing this. And Treat was something a lot of people don't know, but I was working with a lot of investors and things on purchasing a dispensary and a grow, and it's been always something I've been pursuing. I got some really good investors along the way and turned them down because we were talking about a lot of money, you know, and a lot of interest and a lot of triple net and and it's not that you can't do it. I respect Jason so much for making it happen. And then when we decided to do this as a team together, instead of doing them independently apart, it was so exciting to think from the beginning. You would never think of doing that with another person, even your partner, honestly. But actually, I see where that's created this really tight crew that everybody really cares about each other that works there and cares about what they're doing. And yeah, you guys are going to see. It's just going to build a little Dark Horse family. We want to make this where even when people travel, you come and see us, you know, before we go into the mountains, or it's just going to be amazing. VW, oh my goodness, do I miss you? And RS11 and key lime pie. Holy shit. Because I will personally tell you guys that RS11 is one of my favorite strains. Like, as much as they like Skittles, I can't say they because I love Skittles too. It's in that same awesome group of top fivers, I would say. It has this incredible flavor that is not runts, that is not all those things, but very flavorful. But it still gets you so high. But it's almost this vanilla bean orange. It's the first time I've had vanilla stay in my mouth, even over Vanilla Kush or something like that. Or it's just so vanilla. I wanted to breathe the shit out of it, and I was like, I love this so much. I gotta wait. You gotta respect the time. Let her sit for 10 years. You guys think I'm kidding, but I think it's just so beautiful. But I would want RS11 and key lime pie. I traded for key lime pie years ago, Verde, when I was working with a close group, I guess, at 14ers, it was something we had our eye on for a long time, and I lost it. And she was nice. We have the Girl Scout and Thin Mints, and I think the Forum Cut. They're all, yeah. But that is one. I wish I still had VW. You let me know how those seeds go, though, because I might have to snatch some of those up. Chili Verde is pretty bomb, and that has the key lime pie. Lavender and key lime pie. Oh. Let's see. Watered down genetics. Yes, Wesley Pipes. So true. All organic bomb genetics, moldy flower, blows away dispo weed. I feel like, yeah, I think that's the thing that like is disappointing, is you can actually produce fire weed on a commercial scale. When I first started at Rare Dagness, it really was the biggest facility in the world for cannabis indoors at that time. I know everybody says all the shit, but it actually was. And it was significantly larger than any of the other commercial grows. I had even worked at really large grows that were 25,000 square foot or 35,000 square foot before Rare Dagness. And this was just this was the cream of the crop. And these rooms, though, at Rare Dagness, one thing I appreciate and respect so much about Scott as a breeder is he designed this facility from a breeder and grower's perspective. Instead of designing this facility, is what I love about Jason as well, is like, when you actually are in it and you're doing the day-to-day grind and you get it. And they did things so proper. When Scott, what I mean by that is there was rooms that had that were just for sativas and just for indicas, and female rooms and male rooms and breeding project rooms and any kind of room that you can possibly imagine. And they were so large. And every single day, this is when Rare Dingus first opened as well. So there wasn't anybody working there except for us. And there was a couple, like there was Rugburn, me, and Scott, and Mike. And I feel when we were doing the squad like that, we went into every task and had to do it as a group, right? And so every day we had to go check the veg room for male plants and defoliate. And every day we had to go take thousands of clones. And every day we had to do these really tedious, but you competed to be so good at this job and be challenged to that scale and be challenged to these time frames and pressured like that it created this beautiful product. And the second that certain obstacles came along, for instance, the rooms were too sterile, so people wouldn't really see this as an obstacle, but the rooms got too clean, and we did have an incredible IPM. But everything was too sterile. We were growing in rock wool, but the rooms themselves, we were applying Zerotol and Oxyphos once a week, which is great, but we were running our lines with the Standardate 5.0 and Zerotol, not the Standardate with the plants in the lines, but SEP by itself. And then if we had plants in the lines, we would do Zerotol. And we were spraying these applications, some of these other things. So you create a really sterile and clean environment. And we're showering a billion times, right? And going in these rooms in scrubs and all the things. And somebody brought in cardboard for a delivery. Not like someone, like we got a delivery. Just a delivery. And so many things were thought through. But the way that this bay opened, we had to put this cardboard in this room or by this space for such a short amount of time. And it ended up flaring powder mildew in the room because of the spores on the cardboard. There was nothing to, we weren't inoculating our plants at this time, so there was nothing for them to combat being exposed to something. And these are things that you're like, oh, so we're too clean? Shit. And it's weird, but those are the obstacles that I'm talking about. Or the drip pump, like going out in the middle of the night and your rock wool plants just fucked, or it's just so sad. PM, you killed the room. It's true, Wesley Pipes. Like, we are really strict about that. I think Jason is one of the better owners I've ever seen, as far as once again as a breeder and an owner, where they get it. They don't want to smoke that. They don't want nothing to do with it. They're real enough as cultivators, and I'd say talented enough to talk about it, because it does happen. It has happened in our careers. And I think anybody that says it doesn't or hasn't is, I guess you can't identify it, because it's something that's going to happen. But I think that you do just have to dispose it. I think it's the best way. The only way that you can't do that is if you have genetics that you can't lose and you're like, shit. That's why we'll cover, some of the things. 49 degrees. I don't even know what the fuck that is. Is silver bullet also used for pulling out terps? Noel, yes, it is a terp enhancer. So the reason why the reason why that is because sulfur actually is a micronutrient. So when you look at the plant, if you guys actually look up tonight, I wish we would have. Dang it, I'll do this though. Is if you look at how your plant consumes the benefits of feeding your plant sulfur, if this is just going to give you the most resources, I think, online, is if you type in something along those lines, it's phenomenal. I'll put some information together about sulfur specifically with the benefits to it as not a treatment or something like that, but as actually a terp enhancer, because it's just giving your plant everything it wants, like a little extra pep in its step. You'll see after you do this application. That's why I hate when hash extractors always want to bash on using sulfur because they've tasted it from somebody misusing a product or something like that. There's safe ways, like I said, to use this product, and your plants love it, and it is organic, and it is okay to use. And I think when you see them pray after these applications and just so perky, their little leaves just standing up everywhere, and you have this preventative going on, like I said, with russet mites and powder mildew. To me, it's giving your plant such a nice little treat. A little pick me up. Yeah, but just remember, don't hate on them because not everybody has smoked it and grown it. There are new growers every day. Oh, I feel like there is new growers every day. You're right. For intake use, the shroom filter, it has, reader oil Jesus. For intakes, use the shroom filter. It has reader oil too. Stop the spots and don't let the spikes happen in the room. That's awesome, Wesley Pipes. I feel like we've tried filters like that, so that's actually really good. It's just those, the truth is that temperature dropping so much is it gets our rooms too cold. But I think that's brilliant. I'll try it. Cedar oil, there we go. Okay, I was like, reader oil, sorry. Cedar oil, that actually makes incredible sense. That's a great idea. Micronized sulfur, proactive for PM and mites. Yes, Joffrey. I just love it. I mean, seriously, I could sell the shit out of Sulfur Boy if they ever let me. I think it's because it's one of the products. You don't have to buy that brand. I hate to say this. You can buy micronized sulfur. It's just, Silver Bullet did a great job on making this just really user-friendly. It's compliant in the packaging. You cannot use it in Colorado as a treatment. I do know that. It's illegal to do that, or against the rules. I always say illegal, but it's against the rules. But I'm sure that's the same in other states. But you can use it as a terpene enhancer. So, yep. Holy crap, that's a big drink. I always have this cup on here because it's my favorite cup. It is a big drink, though. It's a martini glass. It's my favorite kind of glass. It's my favorite kind of drink. But, okay. Let's see this one. Michelle, you need to gather a group of your go-tos for healthy plants because I don't know enough to put together my own list. That's what Michelle, thank you for saying that, because I would really like to have Jason actually help me or somebody to do the show backwards, where I could have something on the board back here, but more sit back from afar and we actually go through a PowerPoint and talk about these things and have the detailed information. So you could just literally take a screenshot of the YouTube podcast show or whatever parts you needed, but where it would be there and you could remember the mix rates and things like that. I just know how I forget things. So I'd like to make this as easy as possible. Marshmallow Land. That's what it makes me feel. When I walk in there, except for it's not good, you're just like, oh, Snickle Fritz. I'm doing good, Ed. Where have you been? I'm so excited. Good to see you. I hope you've been having a freaking awesome week. Joffrey probably sprayed an alcohol base less than a week after the sulfur application. That's the thing is, thank you for saying this, is I just think that at Rare Dignus particularly, we never use sulfur. I will say, not even as a terpene enhancer, not anything. But I just think I've seen people with the phytotoxicity because sulfur is just a no-go with any oil-based product for weeks, though. And you do have to space this out far enough. I just noticed on the Silver Bullet bag that, and even meeting Tate, is he'll tell you to increase up to 6 grams per gallon on the Silver Bullet is what the label says, I believe. do not quote me, read it, is, but the thing is if I use anything higher than 2 grams, almost exactly, I use a scale that maybe if I weigh it at 2.1, right, it's not the end of the world, but if I'm mixing for like a 5-gallon bucket, it doesn't, 10 grams doesn't sound like much, but sulfur is a pretty thick, or this micronized sulfur is pretty thick, you know? And so I still like to use like a paddle or something to try to get it as broken down as possible, but I've never seen burning unless I use a different product like azadactrin, pyganic, evergreen, trying to think some more common ones. Not Azamax, but what's the other Azagard? There we go. Nothing like that. You can't use anything like that. Not Big Time, not even these essential oils, not Athena, not any of these products in between that window, which to be safe, at minimum, you should do 14 days to avoid the phytotoxicity. But if you really want to be proactive with this, it's 21 days. So instead of making that awful on yourself, you can choose your battle. If you're combating pest and disease, or if you're combating, let's just say, an insect and powder mildew, let's choose which one is more severe than the other. Sounds awful, but you got to do this sometimes. Or what stage you're in, or how important these genetics are to you, this crop. So if you choose your battle first, we can use all these other products that will keep the other thing at bay without using sulfur, but then we time it just right to use sulfur on this day of the plant's age, you know? And then we're super safe, but we've also gotten all these other preventative treatments or resolutionary things in before that. Or vice versa. If you're like, powder mildew is my issue, I don't give a shit about this thrip, then we target the powder mildew first with the sulfur and keep the thrips at bay. And then we target the thrips after that. It's better to separate these things and count out the days between the treatments rather than trying to be super aggressive where you're like, I'm going to drench it, then I'm going to spray it, then I'm going to do it in 2 days, and then I'm going to do it again in 6. That is how you fuck up plants. With a wetting agent, love it. It's classy. I feel like that is the proper way. That is the proper way. Or for you to get the most out of your money, I think. It's a good habit to get into. I gotta slap you with that. There's one wetting agent that I've never seen another cultivator really use, cannabis-wise, but I want to bring that on the show as well. It's phenomenal. It's very expensive compared to most wetting agents. It is very expensive, but it will last you forever, especially if you're growing at your house or in a little bit more manageable space. It's just amazing. Man, I cannot wait to get some Piff Guerrero grows. That sounds amazing. My little Piff plant has been in quarantine for so long because she had the HLVD. You guys are going to be like, oh, you have all these plants. She does, though. It's all my little, it's like my older little ladies. They're getting out of it, though. How's your Piff? She's got to be good. Piff on. I want to smoke it. I want to smoke some of this Piff. Never spray past day 7 and we'll come out in the smoke every time. You mean day 7, Wesley, of flower? I'm sorry. Ryan Skateboards. So good to see you. Big ups, big ups. That's super nice. Zorro PB. Oh, yeah. Yeah, OG crossed times 4. THC Garage. Yes. So if you have to catch up. I like these. Link in the chat. Let's see this one. Dino Grow. I had a soil test done for my organic living soil, and the sulfur levels were on the higher end. Would that help with my plants being more PM resistant? Dino Grows, I believe so. The reason, in my opinion, is the tree salt mix. The secret sauce in there. It's not this is not the only secret sauce, but the thing that is different than most salt mixes is it has additional sulfur added to the mix in your base. And it's nothing to be intimidated by. It's nothing, like we're saying, it's nothing to feel this way about, or bad about. But it's at such low levels. And I used to use a lot of other salt mixes and use my own serious mix where you broke down every part of the 13 parts. Is way too, or 17 if you're getting crazy, but usually dose them. It doesn't matter, but it was too much. And even in comparison though to doing these different numerous other mixes, is the sulfur has been something I've seen an improvement dramatically in the plants. And we do test at parts per billion. We are looking for these things. All of these things to eliminate the fear of these having these residuals that people speak of with the sulfur or things like that. Is your plant is actually eating and consuming it, and they love it, like we said. So I think that resilience, having it always sitting in the plant, it's lowering the pH naturally, but it's also stabilizing it longer throughout your plant in theory than when you see a gradual increase in the pH. If you have like a soil plant, for instance, or medium, that pH will naturally raise or fluctuate. We obviously know the soil is the buffer, but typically it'll naturally raise, not by much. And I think the sulfur, because it's so low on the acidic end, is you're avoiding some of the factors, you're eliminating some of the factors and building that resilience in your plant that the temperature or this imbalance in bacteria or something that could be causing this problem, these spores, in theory, or the opportune environment for them to thrive. I believe it's eliminating by holding a lower pH constantly, like within even the plant. And a lot of other things. Like I said, that resilience comes from your plant ultimately consuming its food. It is like people, is if you feed them well and you give them food when they want it, and how, a proper meal, this really can create for a much healthier and resilient plant. And sulfur is one of those components. That's why when people are like, you can't be using sulfur, I'm like, what? I do and go Dan. I enjoy being a random nobody because if nobody knows how good my weed is, I get to smoke it all by myself. I do and go Dan. That's when you know you grow good weed. It's when you're like, this is mine. That's another reason why treat is because whenever you had a treat like that, it was like, I don't want to smoke this with you guys. I got some shitty weed, I'll smoke with you. I got an eighth hidden in the back of my closet. It's going to take me a year to smoke. Yeah, I remember those days. Oh, THC Garage. We introduced landraces into the genetic pool for better resistance to PM. That is one thing that is cool about all this breeding and the evolution of that. But if you're also taking plants that have HLVD or Fusarium or some of these systemic issues, you will breed those characteristics, I think, is what people overlook. There's definitely some positives here coming with breeding properly and these guys that are doing it proper. But for the people that are not, shucks. Wesley, it's always the cut from your buddy that fucked the garden most times. Yep. One time I had my whole dream library. It took me so long. It took probably 12 years to actually get the cuts from the breeders, know that they were the cuts, filter through flower, all of these things, carry it around. I felt like I was towing my plants everywhere because I was. And all through my 20s. And I feel now that it was so worth holding on to all of them, but I had 100. That was my goal. I was like, I'm going to have 100 of my favorite of all time, which is actually easier than you think to accomplish. You know, it's kind of hard to stay within that once you were there. But no, somebody broke in and took all of my genetics. Except for they did leave about 15. And so I think they ran out of space. It was so kind of them. And so I feel I have replenished and replaced a lot, but I've also lost a lot. And there's something about when I see the names come up now, I'm like, oh, what? It's just incredible how strains can make you so attached. Yeah, this thing is making me mad, honestly. This plant it keeps going out. I thought it was me. Probably is still. Oh, yes. I feel username. Have some guests come on sometime and show their genetics library, like future cannabis project. That'd be fucking awesome. That's a great idea. Let's do it. We're having the guests. Some of these guests that were supposed to come on in the past is, I don't even, when we got the business, when we got the dispensary and the new grow, I had to cancel everything with my podcast for too long. Even Jason, on his podcast, it got a little too crazy. I think now we're gonna settle down. Zorro El Quattro equals Mandarin cookies, the old roadkill. The taste, wonderful, complex. Thank you, Zorro. That sounds so nice. It has to be raw milk, not pasteurized. I guess I should have thought to point that out. I feel when I go to Whole Foods and get the glass milk jugs, that's whole milk. Then you can just drink the top of it, and then you can just use the rest for your plant in a couple days when the time is right. But that's a good. Wesley, that's good that you're talking about that. That's the thing about adding moisture, like we were saying. And milk is sometimes the moisture and sometimes the ratio of this bacteria that's this actually combating it is not enough. And so then you're adding more to the problem instead of, it's a fine line sometimes, but THC Garage, let's see, where the room is too dry, humidity is probably too low, too cold, and high RH equals PM. You guys just got my hands on some mimosa from Symbiotic Genetics. John Dominguez, that sounds freaking good. I had mimosa years ago. It was like 5 years ago. And I loved growing that strain. Just the way the bud structure is, just the flavor, just the smell when you walk by it, flowering. It'll make you melt. I'm jealous. I'm very, very jealous. John, you should send some pictures in too. We'll put them on the show. It's such a beautiful one. I would love to smoke it and get that one back now that you say that. Does that have Cali? Oh, the mimosa. It's clementine crossed with purple punch. It really is nice. It just grows. There's something about purple punch that everybody wanted to breed with it because that bud structure, the trichomes, and the flavor were so distinctively loud. And something like Tropicana cookies, I would say, in flavor. Maybe not aesthetically. It was a lot more wowzer mode, but had that flavor. What do you guys think? But the mimosa, if you ever have a chance to grow mimosa, it's really good because it is really resilient. It does have more of that orange, tangy kind of dominating side versus the purple punch, which is rare. And it's just got these like hairs. It's not like golden goat hairs, but they're orange like that. It has huge nugs, colas. Sexy. Save some French toast pollen. I'm across it. I'm going to call it breakfast delight. That's what's up, John. Oh, it sounds good. I do and go, Dan. That's my favorite part about living in a little country town. Fresh yard eggs, pasture-raised critters, and a fruit of veggies straight from folks' garden. Good eating is good living. Doing good in. That's how I was raised, on a farm. That it was so similar to what you're talking about. And it's something that taught me so much about cultivating weed that I never thought would correlate over. But the way that way of life is, and the way that big ag and farming actually operates, is so fascinating. It's just a beautiful thing. Oh, yes. Let's see. Kim Painter, do daily raffle tickets. Each customer gets a ticket just like the lotto. Then I have like a drawing on Halloween, but make it fun. Something like that. Freaking cool idea. Sign me up. Sign me up. I'm freaking in. Let's do it, bud. Yes, yes, yes. Vertical stoner integration. From the owners all the way down through the grow team and retail staff and admins have to share the same passion you just talked about. It's rare, but I believe in you all. R.E. Dang. Thank you. Thank you. I think that that's why our team our team is very unique, because we do a lot as a small unit. All of us individually in a lot of different roles and a lot of different jobs. Jason has brought a lot of people together that would have probably never come together, honestly. And now it's sharing this passion that everybody cares so deeply about what they're doing and every part of this business and the company itself being successful, which is so rare to see so much passion behind everybody with this. But I know everybody really loves it and loves what they're doing, and I think has really put in their time to see this come to fruition and see it just go really well. I think we don't want to let down our customers. We don't want to let down Jason. I don't want to let down Treat or Dark Horse. And there's something about working billions of hours and painting and drywalling and it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's been a lot for a long time. We were working on the other grow before this project, and then it's like that one didn't even end. It was like almost back to being fully full of plants, and then we were like, oh, let's go buy this. Yay. Just kidding, it is awesome. But I think it's been kicking our ass. But I think that the team, we're going to get through it. Dino Grows, I'm sorry if I answered your questions in a shitty way. Sometimes I could use improvement myself. Back in the day in Colorado, I used to get fireweed. God, thank you, Michelle. This weed used to be so fucking good. So good. I hate to say it like that, guys, but it was good. I know we're going to wrap this up. I can't thank you guys enough for chilling with me tonight and coming back on the show. I promise next week we're going to have a wonderful guest, and we're going to do this. We're going to get back into our routine. Please keep an eye out on my little Instagram. Also, I would really appreciate, I'm so shadow banned on Instagram and YouTube usually, just probably most things I've ever tried to do. So I actually really do need your guys' help, because I think we could get a little bit more traction. I think it's possible. Maybe not. All right, guys. Peace and love, and I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day tomorrow. I look forward to talking to you. Also, clone orders. So sorry. Guys, clone orders, they'll be out by the 15th. I apologize for the delay. I wanted to throw in some stuff. Hang in there. They're going to be sexy. All right.